Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf, big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Hello, what's going on, folks? It's Moji, the king of the north, and I'm here to do my explaining, baby. My explaining on the great bastard sword of Jon Snow, the new king of the north, the once known bastard of Winterfell, and his sword, LongClaw, once belonging to House Mormont. Now this video is going to be about who I believe will wield LongClaw in the future. Presently, it's being used by Jon Snow, but will he use it forever? Will it be the great bastard sword he uses in the great long night against the great others? Is it going to be the sword that he faces against the Night King with? This and other questions I will try to solve in this video. Now let's get back to the roots of LongClaw. It's been in the Mormont family for 500 years, passed down through generations to the first male heir of the family. This sword, presently in our story, was given to Jorah Mormont from his father, Jorah Mormont, former Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Now what we know is Jorah was a slaver. He was caught slaving on Bear Island to sufficiently pay for the needs of his greedy and loveless wife. When he got caught by Ned Stark wanted his head. Jorah decided to flee the north and left the sword for his father, leaving in shame. He was smart enough to leave the sword, and Jorah noticed that. Jorah Mormont even commented that at least Jorah had the sense to leave the sword in his shame. That tells you how important the sword is. Not only that it's Valyrian steel, but it's a family heirloom, and should not have left with Jorah to the Summer Isles or across the narrow sea. Once Jorah was shamed, Jorah took the sword to the Night's Watch and to Castle Black, was named Lord Commander after many years in service, and held the sword ceremoniously. Soon after, Jon Snow left Winterfell, his boyhood home, to be a man of the Night's Watch. He became steward to Jorah Mormont, Lord Commander, and was being groomed to lead one day. When whites came into Castle Black and attacked the Lord Commander, Jon Snow killed them with fire. For his bravery and service, Lord Commander Jorah Mormont gave him LongClaw. Now let's get back to the sword's description. It's a bastard sword or a half sword, which means it's a good half a foot longer than a standard longsword, tapered to thrust as well as slash, with 3 fullers incised into the blade to reduce its weight. There are ripples in the dark steel indicating it is Valyrian steel. At the end of the blade, it has a bear's head for a pommel. This was changed to a wolf's head pommel, resembling Ghost, when Jorah Mormont gave the blade to Jon Snow for defeating the whites that came inside Castle Black. We know Jon Snow to have used his bastard sword in many occasions, notably first used to kill Qhorin Halfhand, when Qhorin wanted Jon to infiltrate the wildling encampment led by the King Beyond the Wall Mance Rayder. It was the only way to convince the wildlings that Jon would want to join them. The idea came to Qhorin when him and Jon encountered the wildlings in the Fist of the First Men and the Frostfangs. Jon then famously wielded the sword at the Battle of Castle Black when Mance Rayder and his wildling horde came to attack the castle. He then beheaded Janos Slynt with it when it was known that Janos would not follow his orders as the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. This sword represents everything Jon is. Sharp, quick, and lethal. Now it may be surprising to people to think that someone else may wield this sword other than Jon Snow. But after I've made some thoughts about this, I believe someone else will. Because I believe Jon Snow will be wielding another sword. Lightbringer, formed in fire and made into flesh. And flesh I mean steel. Alright, drum roll. The new wielder of LongClaw is Thormund Giantsbane, ladies and gentlemen. This is the man who will be beside Jon Snow in the long night. He will be the protector of the Dread Fort, in my opinion. The Wildling King himself, Mr. Har, Tourney Giantsbane. It just seems logical. It just seems irrehensible. It just seems legitimate. Thormund Giantsbane is the man who has been with Jon Snow the longest. He's been there longer than Davos, longer than Sansa, longer than Melisandre. This man has seen it all, ladies and gentlemen. He once served the king beyond the wall, Mance Rayder. His allegiance is pure and true, but now he must serve another king. Half Targaryen, half Stark, the prince that was promised, Jon Snow, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, there's no one better or truer to field and wield LongClaw. This man, Tormund, is, in my opinion, going to get his own house in the north, whether that be the last hearth that belonged to the Umbers on the show, or whether that's the Dread Fort, formerly of the Boltons. This man has been a true captain in Jon's army. He deserves some Valyrian steel, folks. When the long night comes and the dead awaken, you're not gonna have Tormund out there with some bronze weaponry that the wildlings usually use. He needs real steel. I think LongClaw going to Tormund is befitting of a man who believes he has seduced a bear, a she-bear, and a blade that once belonged to House Mormont. It just seems right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed my take on the next wielder of LongClaw. This is my series on Valyrian steel blades and swords in Westeros. I will have a new blade and a new wielder in the next episode, so please stay tuned. This is Moji, the King of the North, and I'm out.